The BBC, rather than capitulate like pretty much every other media outlet, is fighting Trump, fighting back against the $10 billion defamation lawsuit he filed against them. And now they're asking for evidence. They're asking for discovery to defend themselves against this civil lawsuit. And the form of discovery is Trump's phone records and his private diary. My name is Dina Doll with the MeidasTouch Network. Let's get into this. I mean, it is so refreshing to see somebody try to defend themselves in court. As we know, we saw Facebook and ABC and all the rest just capitulate to Trump and pay off whatever it was that Trump wanted. Well, he sued the BBC back in December. He sued them over the documentary that they aired. They actually never even aired it in the United States, but he sued them in Florida. The documentary they aired about January 6th, and they edited his speech. They edited his speech in a way to not make it obvious that the statements he made were over a period of time. The BBC actually apologized. They said that they hadn't meant to edit it in that way. But saying that that is something maybe they didn't want to portray is a whole heck of a lot different than saying that what they did was defamatory. As we know, we have very strong defamation laws in this country. If the press is going to report on a public official or a public matter, they have latitude because we want a robust reporting about issues and people that are important to us. And so in order to prevail on a defamation claim against the press, you have to prove, one, that it's a statement of fact and not an opinion. Two, you have to prove that they knew what they did was false or they had a reckless disregard to the truth. It's called malice. They either had to have actual malice or have this reckless disregard. It is a high standard. It is meant to be a high standard because we want the robustness of a free press. Now, interestingly, right at the same time, basically, that this BBC defense, that they are mounting this defense, Trump basically lost at the Supreme Court around this issue. It wasn't him, but it was essentially him. Alan Dershowitz had sued CNN over his representation of Trump in one of those impeachment hearings. He said that the way the CNN portrayed his defense was defamatory. He lost again and again because of the fact that there is this high standard. Well, he asked the Supreme Court to change the standard completely. That's something he wanted. I'm sure that's something Trump wants because he likes to use defamation again and again in a way to try to basically punish people for reporting about him. Well, the Supreme Court declined to take the case. Two justices, Gorsuch and Thomas, both thought that they should take the case. There is this element of that MAGA on the Supreme Court that would happily throw out New York Times versus Sullivan. New York Times versus Sullivan is that landmark case that sets forward the defamation standard in order to allow robust reporting. Well, Trump got a loss there, so he is stuck. He is stuck with the rigorous standard of malice in order to prove his case against the BBC, and the BBC is not backing down. They are not capitulating. They are not offering payment. Instead, they are asking for discovery. A trial has actually been set on this. A judge set 2-week trial for February 2027. Like that might actually still get pushed back. But this, so far, is going forward. And because it's going forward, they need evidence to help prove their defense. Their defense, first of all, is truth. So they're asking for Trump's phone records and schedule. Because if the argument is Trump is saying that you edited my speech in a way to make it look like I incited violence when I didn't incite violence, knowing what Trump's plan was for that day, what he was saying to other people, who he was saying it to, matters. And so that's the interesting thing here. Trump pardoned, as we know, the January 6th insurrectionists, tried to pay them off with his slush fund in order to do what? We don't know. Perhaps interfere with the next election. Who knows? But he wants to not only pardon them, but pay them off. Is it that outlandish that perhaps he has some phone calls to people or about certain situations or schedules on his book? This is now something Trump got himself into. He didn't have to sue the BBC. He didn't have to sue them for defamation. He made a strategic error by asking a court to say that what they said was defamatory, because truth is a defense. You also have to prove not only that they knew what they were saying was a lie, or that they were so reckless with regard to the truth. And so putting together what Trump actually did that day and who he said it with that day is something the BBC has a right to know. And Trump cannot get out of this. He cannot get out of this with an immunity card. He cannot get out of this being president. First of all, as we know with Clinton v. Jones, a president can be sued civilly while in office as long as that conduct is not about them being president. What he did that day, January 6th, is not about what he did as president. Why do we know that? Because that has already been decided, because Capitol police officers as well as Congress members have sued Trump civilly for what happened that day. That lawsuit is moving forward despite the fact that Trump tried to get that one dismissed, saying he was president at the time. One big reason is because that rally he held that day where he made that speech that was then clipped in this documentary was paid for with campaign funds. So a court has already determined that that lawsuit could proceed because it was private action and not public action, that he was speaking as a campaigner. He wasn't speaking as president. And then, of course, here in this situation, you actually have Trump, who initiated this lawsuit. Clearly not something he can claim that is immunity. So really interesting development in this case that Trump cannot get out of. He started this. He cannot get out of this. And the Supreme Court, unwillingly or willingly, did not make it any easier for Trump, as he would have loved to have made it easier to go after his critics in the press. Instead, he's stuck with a very strong standard, and BBC has a right to defend themselves in this lawsuit, and they are asking for discovery and evidence by which to do so. So interesting now what's going to happen. Is he going to hand that over, or is he going to basically give up on this lawsuit? Very interesting developments. We will for sure be following this on the MeidasTouch network. Free subscribe if you haven't already. And if you have not found the Mistrial podcast on audios, find us on audio, listen to us as well. That support on the audio as well as here on the YouTube is so important to help grow my podcast. Really appreciate it. And so grateful for our sponsors. Check out our sponsors in the description below. They never censor what I have to say, which is so amazing in this moment.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.